Hi, Tori. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, it's nice to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you for being here. And also welcome to Charlie and Ayana. And there's not that many people signed up for today, just about 15 people, but I know some of them will not be able to make it live. So the meeting is being recorded. You probably have a little thing on your screen that you have to click to accept that the meeting is being recorded. And just going to let in a couple more people. Hang on.
How's it going, Chef?
Hey, Charlie, it's so nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I had a really busy week, so a little meditation is like exactly what I need right now.
Perfect, perfect. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but actually, Bar and Restaurant Expo starts day after tomorrow. So all the
I
chefs are now
know.
arriving.
I'm so sad I'm gonna miss it this year.
Me too, me too.
Yeah.
I'll be there, but I'm sorry that you won't be there because I really
Yeah,
always appreciate your assistance.
yeah, I'm sure y'all will have a good time.
Definitely. All right, well, we have the four of us, and so I will go ahead and get started. And I'm going to just pin myself so that I am the one being recorded to share with everyone else. Take this full screen. All right, so I think everyone is muted right now, and this is pretty informal. Good morning, Ayana. So if you have any questions that you want to talk about, feel free to unmute yourself, preferably not while we're meditating, but in the beginning as we're finding our comfortable seat, and I'll do a little bit of Dharma talk. Then we'll meditate together. I'll save some time at the end just so I can present to you some offers that I have coming up. And then I'll also do a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions about anything that we've discussed or about your home practice or how to expand your practice, you can ask those questions then. And so definitely feel free to unmute yourself as needed in order to have your questions answered. So you might be wondering, why bother to meditate? And I think Tim Ferriss is someone who expressed it really well. If you don't know who Tim Ferriss is, he's an author and interviewer. He's a podcast host, and he interviews people from all walks of life, from every industry, every discipline, from artists to scientists to athletes. And he's always interviewing the top 1%. So not just any athlete or not just any scientist, it's going to be the one who has the most groundbreaking results, the one who has gone the farthest in their career. So he interviews really heavy hitters. And the one thing that he noticed that 97 to 99% of his interviewees have in common is some sort of meditation or mindfulness practice. And so it's something that we can all benefit from. But on top of just training our mind, we all want to be happy, and we're all suffering. And our suffering is coming from one of two things: craving or aversion. Because the minute you have an opinion about something, it's going to turn into a like or a dislike, which is going to turn into a craving or aversion. And when you don't get what you want, that causes suffering. And when you do get what you don't want, that causes suffering. So basically, what we're doing in the practice of meditation is observing the bodily sensations without forming an opinion about them. And by learning to observe objectively, we're able to start to separate ourselves from this tendency that we have to always create craving and aversion, which always leads to more suffering. So some of you know I just got back from a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It was a Vipassana retreat in Southern California. And I had a very well-established meditation practice prior to going to this. So I was well trained to sit still and to do my practice. I had a daily practice for nearly 5 years. I've only missed a few days in that length of time. And I found that the going to sit in meditation for 12 hours a day, nothing prepares you for that. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. Now, my meditation practice prior to joining this retreat, it involved a lot of things. I would start with pranayama, which is breath control. So you're expanding the breath, you're aware of the breath, you're controlling it. I would do kriya practices, which are energetic cleansing practices. They often involve moving the body. You're twisting, you're inhaling and exhaling, you're pulling arms up and down, So there's a lot of kriya exercises that I would do as part of my practice. I would also do japa, which is when you have your mala beads and you're moving a bead each time you repeat your mantra. And that's part of my practice. And I had all of these things. So my practice would take 40 minutes to 1 hour. And it was easy for me to sit for that length of time because I had all these activities. I would be breathing and then I'm moving the body, then I'm doing my mantra, then I'm doing my japa. So I was never actually sitting still for a full hour. I had things to keep me busy. And so it was really so challenging to sit and not fidget and not blink my eyes and not readjust my seat. And once I learned how to do that, it was like the ultimate liberation. Now, at the retreat, we would sit for an hour and then we would take a little 10-minute break. And then we'd come back and we'd sit for 2 hours and we'd take a little 10-minute break. So it's not like 12 hours full, right? We have little times where we can go eat. They feed us at 6:30, they feed us at 11. You don't eat beyond that. New students can take a piece of fruit at 5 p.m. But if you're a returning student, you're not allowed to eat anything beyond noon. And so towards the end of the retreat, I started foregoing that piece of fruit late in the day, just so I would be prepared for when I come back and not feel like I was desperate, because I was really looking forward to that piece of fruit at 5 o'clock. And I was like, oh, there's that craving, so let me start to remove that. I actually noticed that when you're fed at certain hours, you become used to eating at those hours. It actually feels good to go to sleep with the stomach empty. And when I'm at home, I have no discipline for that, right? It's like the kitchen is right there. I have all my favorite snacks. I have all my favorite beverages. So it's much harder to maintain that kind of structure now that I'm home. They recommend that when you leave the retreat that you still sit for 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night to do your Vipassana practice, which I have managed to stick to. I wanted to stick to the feeding schedule. That's been a little bit more challenging for me. So I'm trying to do intermittent fasting, but my eating window is later in the day because it's easy for me to get through the first part of the day without eating. But I really feel I need food 3 to 5 in the afternoon. That's like where I usually take my second meal. So I start eating later, which is working for me for now. We'll see if that sticks. One of the other things that we are required to do as part of the retreat that they encourage us to continue with is you have to take these 5 precepts, and it's based on morality, because we're building these 10 perfections. The 10 perfections are generosity, morality, renunciation, so not hoarding, not hanging on to too many things, wisdom, strong effort, tolerance, strong determination, so the ability to sit without fidgeting, selfless love, and equanimity, like having that evenness of mind. So this is what we're working towards, and morality being the very first one. They really encourage, well, we are required to take these 5 precepts, which are no killing of any kind. So that means no eating meat, and I'm vegan anyway, so that was not a change for me. No stealing. No, you're not allowed to take anything that is not given. No sexual misconduct. So that includes like fantasy and just like no sexual activity whatsoever. No wrong speech, which means no lying. They believe that if we're speaking, that there is some non-truth that is slipping in because we like to exaggerate. We like to make things bigger than they are. And so basically, like, it's like they say this about politicians, but it's probably true about most people, that if you're speaking, there is some non-truth involved, right? Because like our own opinion is maybe not the actual truth. So we commit to silence for the entire time. If you're not speaking, you're not lying. And then also no intoxicants of any kind. So you're not allowed to take drugs, drink, smoke cigarettes, anything that affects the way that the body functions. And so for me, this is kind of how I live my life anyway. So it wasn't taking a precept that I wasn't used to participating in. I would say intoxicants are the one that, throughout my life has been like, I've smoked a lot of herb in my life. Sometimes I'll have a glass of wine. Recently, I want to say around Thanksgiving, I stopped drinking, and I've noticed how nice that works for me. And so I'm pretty happy to commit to that. No drinking from here on out. Like, I don't want to be teetotal. Like, my mom had a birthday. We took her on a hot air balloon ride, and we had a champagne toast at the end. So I don't want to feel like, oh, I shouldn't toast to my mom's 70th birthday. I'm going to have the glass of champagne. I'm not going to drink 5 glasses of champagne and then the next day want to do it again. So for me, no drinking. It's a no-brainer. And I'm really glad that I found that, because usually people only quit drinking if they have a problem with drinking, and I never really had a problem, unless you consider drinking whenever you feel like it a problem, which for some people it is, right? Some people know one sip is too much. For me, that's not really the case. So I do like to keep it to where if I'm celebrating something, it's not a problem for me to celebrate with a beverage, but I love to not have it as part of my regular practice. Also, you may have noticed on the invitation to this class, I wrote pranayama, japa, kriya, some basic gentle movements of the body. And I put all of these things because I didn't want to decide 1 month ago what I should teach today. And also it depends on like who signs up for the class. And, everyone here so far, except for Charlie, I believe, is a yoga teacher. And so, as you need to make a plan. You need to also be very flexible with how you deliver, because you might have planned a class that's for people with established practices who know all the names of the shapes, and you show up and there's 3 people who have never tried yoga before. You have to serve a different class now than you planned on serving. So I wanted to just be intuitive and kind of deliver the class that was needed in this moment. Some of the people who signed up did, because we a lot of the people who I just sat with for almost 2 weeks, we were in silence, so we didn't speak to each other. But at the end, a lot of people commented about my meditative posture. And I sit very straight up and down. And I suppose it can look stiff, but actually I'm not using any effort to sit this way, because I'm stacking the bones of the spine so that gravity is holding me in place. It's like when you build the rock towers. And when you're first learning how to walk, you see a baby and they're like super wobbly, like jello. They're figuring out how to stack their bones so that they can stand. But now we've been standing for our whole life. It's very easy. We don't require effort to just stand. And so this is the same concept. When you're looking for your comfortable seat, if you get your hips in just the right position, the spine will naturally stack itself, and then the skull just sits on top of that stack and gravity holds you in place. So I wanted to, right here at the beginning, just go over some comfortable ways to sit, so that if you're not used to sitting for long periods of time, you can kind of find your comfortable seat in order to be comfortable to sit for an hour. So I prefer just a regular meditation cushion, and I'll sit sideways so you can see what I'm doing here. There's a few ways you can sit. You can sit kind of crisscross, like easy Sukhasana style, like crisscross applesauce. I think we used to call it Indian style, and that's not really PC anymore. But what I like to do is sit on the cushion. I have my hips elevated above where my knees are going to be, and the top part of my shin and the top part of my foot, I'm going to turn this to face down so that that part is touching the floor. And then I'm going to just slide the cushion forward so that my hips, like you can experiment with kind of the bowl of your hips. Imagine you're pouring soup out of the front of the bowl. So now your tailbone is sticking back. And then you can also like imagine you're pouring the soup backwards behind you. And you can see how both of these positions are not really conducive to holding the spine upright. But if you get the hips balanced so that that bowl of soup doesn't spill, then you can just sit comfortably. I usually have this meditation cushion when I'm practicing, so I usually just use this. But in any yoga studio, you're going to find blocks. Blocks work exactly the same. They just give you just enough elevation so that that comfortable seat can easily be found. And for some people, you're going to need 2 blocks, because depending on the rotation of your hips and how, like, depending on your own bone structure, you might need more height like this, right? So then you can see how I turn the tops of my shins and feet down so that, again, I'm finding that stacked position that's easy to maintain. Now, we learn this in yoga teacher training, so like a lot of you probably already know this, but we never really talk about it. And so people often, when they sit to meditate, they sit on the floor and they're in their crisscross, but this is happening with their back. So you see it's arched up here. I've lost the C curve at the bottom of the spine. And this, I'm using a lot of effort from my abdomen to hold myself upright. Well, that's not going to be sustainable over a long period of time. You have to get the hips set so that the bones stack easily. So if crisscross hurts your hips and that's not working for you, your next option is to sit straddling the bolster or pillow. So for me, I would do the same thing. I would take the pillow, but I'd put it between my feet, and then I'm going to squeeze the pillow to give it just a little bit of elevation so that when I sit, it's comfortable. My knees are now pointing forward. You can try this also if you have a bolster. I don't have one that like a yoga studio would have, but I have like just a big pillow from the bed. And again, you can just straddle it, point the feet back, point the knees forward, and sit this way. This is very comfortable. I also have this wedge, which is just kind of like a yoga tool. And again, it's like if I notice like right now I have a little bit of a backache, so I know my hips are going to need to be higher than they normally would. So for that, I'm just going to bring the wedge to the back of my cushion or bolster. And then when I sit, now this is actually much more comfortable because I'm not in this curled position. It's easy to sit upright. And then finally, if sitting on the floor is not for you, if you have any kind of injury or because of age, the floor is too far away, no problem. You can sit in a chair. Now, most people, when they sit in a chair, they're sitting like this. My spine is not straight, so it's not really conducive to a meditative practice, but I'm short. So a lot of times when I sit back in a chair, my heels are off the ground, I'm not super comfortable. So what I might do to make the chair fit better is bring a pillow behind me and then also put a pillow under my feet so that once I'm seated, I can push myself back in the chair. My back is straight. I don't have pressure on the back of my legs because I'm not sitting like this where it's like the chair is cutting into my leg. I've elevated my feet so that my legs are straight and my back is straight. Now, if you're very tall and you sit in a chair and it's like this, then for you, you might need to actually raise your seat up again so that the legs are comfortable and the back is comfortable as you're seated. So those are just a few options, and you can play around with them on your own. You can take the time to do so right now. I think you'll find that over time, your preferences change. For me, if I've just done 2 hours of yoga, then my hips are very warmed up and loose and open, and I can now sit in lotus position, which is actually the ultimate meditative seat, because what happens is with the thighs on top, or the feet on top of the thighs, you're locked into this position where your hips are in the right position, You're not going to fall forward or lean back. But it's not a position I can get into unless I've spent a long time warming up. So for me, unless I've already had my asana practice for the day, I'm not going to sit in lotus. If lotus comes naturally for you, I recommend that for sure, for you to take on your meditation. Okay, so one other thing I was going to mention, I know some of the people in this group, not the ones that are here, but I know sometimes people say like, oh, I like to lay down to meditate. And the reason this is not recommended is because it's so obvious, you will fall asleep. Once you have the body completely relaxed, your mind has come to a place of equilibrium, you're going to fall asleep. And sleep and meditation are not the same thing. They both are more restful and relaxing than the normal chaos, the vrittis of the mind, but they're definitely not the same. And in fact, sleep and drowsiness are considered enemies to meditation. So if you want to meditate, which is a practice of total awareness, of present moment awareness, you have to find a way to prevent yourself from falling asleep. And the main way to do that is to sit yourself upright. During our 10-day course, I noticed, because we would start, a bell would ring at 4 a.m, and that's when we would begin. The 4 to 6:30 meditation, no problem. We eat breakfast, we come back. For some reason, the 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. sit, it was the biggest battle between me and drowsiness. I had the hardest time staying awake and alert and conscious and doing my meditation, because that's when sleep would try to overtake me. And it was like the battle of Kurukshetra, like from the Bhagavad Gita. It's like I am there fighting the enemy, trying to like get through it. And the thing about it is I'm seated, right? So as soon as the drowsiness would overtake me and I would start to fall over, that it would wake me back up, and now I'm conscious and alert. And so that's why it's important to sit yourself upright to meditate. So I encourage you to find your comfortable seat if you haven't already. And I'll give you a little bit of Dharma talk before we go into the actual meditation practice. But you can actually just start to find your seat and commit, like get yourself comfortable, feather your nest if you need to. But commit, once you take your seat, use strong determination to stay as you are. I tend to get a little cold when I sit still for a long time. So I just know if I'm going to meditate, I'm going to have a blanket nearby. And depending on the temperature, I'm either going to wrap my shoulders so that I stay warm, or I'm going to wrap my waist just so that my lap is covered. So if you're cold natured, I also recommend that you get yourself in a place where you're not going to be battling the cold or the heat for that matter. But again, it's really not a problem, because what we're going to start to do is observe the sensations that we're feeling and start to detach ourselves from having an opinion about the thing. For me, cold is something I do not like. And so it is something that I have to work on being okay with and accepting. Sometimes the body is cold and sometimes the body is hot, and it's not a problem because of impermanence. Everything is changing at all times. And so I might feel cold, but that is not going to last forever. I might feel pain, or I might feel something pleasant like tingly sensation. Again, none of these things last forever. And so it's about developing the ability to observe objectively without forming an opinion, and then developing that tendency towards craving or aversion, which, as we've discussed, leads directly to suffering. Now, you can ask any realized being, any enlightened one, any of the ascended masters, rishis, seers, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Muhammad. You could ask Ramana Maharshi, Neem Karoli Baba. I mean, anyone who's a great teacher, regardless of their religion or their background, they will agree that if you are working towards enlightenment, there are three things which you must do. One is stop participating in sinful, immoral, wicked activities. You must begin to do virtuous, right action, any saintly, moral activities, and you must purify the mind. Now, what is a sinful activity? Well, we know that a sinful, immoral, corrupt, unrighteous, unscrupulous activity is anything that is going to disturb the peace and harmony of ourselves or others, such as killing. Killing is going to disturb someone's peace. Stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, it's going to disturb the peace in some way. Even taking intoxicants is going to disturb the peace, because when we're intoxicated, even just a little bit, we're willing to do things that we wouldn't do if we have our right mind. For me, that means eating cookies and chips before bed. I know better, right? But if I drink alcohol, then I'm more likely to do something that I know I shouldn't be doing. And of course, we know that the more intoxicants you consume, the worse things can become, because you can end up in an accident, you can end up in a fight with someone, you end up behaving in a way that you would not behave if you were not intoxicated. So giving up any sinful, immoral activities that are going to cause suffering to the community, to humanity, to the world at large, we must give up those activities. We must begin to perform selfless acts of service. Any righteous activities, any ethical acts, anything that is going to increase peace, tolerance, love, harmony. And we have opportunities every day to commit these acts. We don't have to, in fact, we can't really plan them, because it's about doing what's needed in the moment. And you always know what is needed. If you're present with your life, you know what is needed. If someone falls down in front of you, you don't need to think, what's the right thing to do? No, you're just going to help them up. You're going to make sure they're okay. If you see someone being bullied or sexually harassed, you know that you need to come to the defense of that person. And not only that, but you need to remain without judgment regarding the aggressor. Because when someone hurts someone else, they are also suffering. This is true anytime. Like, this is true with terrorists. This is true with your typical schoolyard bully. When someone is causing suffering to someone else, they are also suffering. And so you have to have a sense of understanding towards that person, that they're ignorant and they don't know any better. And you do the best you can to help the situation and to not escalate things. You want to de-escalate situations as best you can. And then purifying the mind is the third step towards reaching that goal of full enlightenment. And to purify the mind, we have to remove the defilements. We have to remove the vrittis, as we would say in yoga. So like, yoga is considered to be the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. And meditation is pointing at the same thing. We don't want the mind swinging this way and that, but if you really observe the mind, it's a sociopath up there. It's like, there is no congruence, there is no thread that follows through. Your mind is 1 minute planning a grocery list and the next minute mad about something somebody said, then remembering I forgot to call my mom, then you're planning your trip, then next time he says that to me, this is what I'm going to say. Like, the mind is crazy. It's a crazy person. And so that's why we want to like detach from it and be aware that we are not the mind. We're not. We are observing the mind. So we have to to purify the mind, we're working to become equanimous. That is the goal. And because I practice Vipassana now, I've sort of let go of a lot of the other practices. I haven't been in the last few weeks practicing pranayama. I haven't been practicing Kriya or Japa. I still do my mantra practice because I'm obsessed with learning. And right now I'm learning Sanskrit. So that is a big part of my education. So as far as what I wanted to present you with today, I mean, it could be anything. It could be nothing. I will, because I mentioned that if you had mala beads, you should bring them. So I will just say that I really have enjoyed japa in the past. And if you want to do it, I'll just show you how to do that, which is that a mala bead has 108 beads. And so you would have a mantra that you would repeat 108 times. Each time you say the mantra, you're going to move one bead. And you might have a mantra for Shiva. You might have a mantra for Ganesh or for any deity who you associate with. You might have, I really like Soham. Soham is I am. And it's not a fill in the blank. It's a statement with a period at the end. I am. So every time you would do that, you would move one bead. You would say it mentally or verbally out loud. It is thought that, or it is known, I suppose you could say that when you speak a mantra, it affects the physical form. When you whisper a mantra, it affects the kind of mental form. When you think a mantra, it's more for like the energetic and emotional body. So sometimes when I do mantra with japa, I will start with speaking, then I'll bring it down to a whisper, then I just take it mental. And then when I've gotten all the way through the beads and back towards the beginning, you can feel where the beads change. I will take it back to verbal again. You never want to drape the mala beads over the first finger because this is the finger that's associated with the ego. So we want to keep the ego out of it. So most people drape over the second finger or even the ring finger because there's a point on the ring finger, which is like an acupressure point. For me, this finger, it doesn't work as well. So I prefer the middle, but you would say Soham or whatever your mantra, maybe Om Mani Padme Hum, and you move one bead. Then you say your mantra, you move the bead. And you can just do this with your eyes closed, moving the beads. You'll know when you get back to the beginning. And it is traditional that you don't sit your beads on the ground. That's considered like disrespectful. So if you have like an altar or, you know, a little tray that you keep your goods on, that's where you would want to sit your beads so that they're not directly on the ground. But for now, since not everyone has mala beads, we will take a meditation together. So from your comfortable seat, you can just allow the eyes to close. The hands can be resting on your lap, or you might like to cup one hand inside the other with the tips of the thumbs lightly touching each other. Wherever you decide to place your arms, make sure that they're comfortable and supported so that you don't feel like the weight of the arms is too much for the body. And with the eyes closed, just observe internally what's happening with the body. Just doing a quick scan of your internal landscape to notice what it is that you're feeling in this moment. Those feelings might be something physical, pleasant or unpleasant. They might be emotional. They might be mental. You might notice that the mind is a bit chaotic with a lot of movement, or you might notice that the mind is very calm and still. And because the mind is most often jumping from this thing to that thing and not in a state of equilibrium, we will draw the mind into a space of stillness by observing the breath. Anapanasati is just awareness of the breath. This is not the same thing as pranayama. In pranayama, we control the breath. We direct it to do what we want for it to do. Anapanasati is just observing the breath exactly as it is, not wishing for it to be different, not controlling it. And because we're seated and the body is nice and still, it is likely that the breath is shallow. No problem. We don't need a lot of oxygen to just sit still. For your meditation, you will keep the lips closed and breathe in and out through the breathing instrument. And it's likely that you can feel the breath somewhere either outside of the nostrils on the upper lip, perhaps within the nostrils or the sinuses. Perhaps you feel the air moving through the throat. And it could be that you're just noticing the expansion and contraction of the rib cage as the lungs swell and deflate. Just observe where you notice your breath moving. And if you're having a hard time finding your breath, take a few heavier breaths in and out through the nose so that you can feel the air entering and exiting the body. And now that you have located that movement of air, perhaps somewhere in your sinuses, perhaps the upper lip, maybe just on the outer ring of the nostrils. Wherever you notice the breath, stay right there. Your one and only job in this moment is to observe. You can consider yourself like a guard at Buckingham Palace. You watch the breath come and go, but you don't follow it to the bathroom. So there's no need to see where the breath is going inside the body. And there's no need to be curious about where the breath goes when it leaves the body. All you are doing is keeping your awareness settled on one spot. Noticing the movement of air. The more subtle the breath becomes, the more fine-tuned the mind will become while observing the breath. Can you notice the temperature change from the cool, dry air that enters the body to the warm, humid air that leaves the body? when you observe the breath, you must be sure to do it presently. We're not remembering how the breath used to feel. We're not longing for a breath that's different from the one we are currently feeling. And anytime you lose the awareness of the breath, if it becomes too subtle to the point where you cannot locate it, feel free to take a couple of rounds of heavier breath in order to relocate the position from which you are observing. And once you've found that spot where you feel the air moving, that's where you stay to observe. The sensations, the breath moving in and out of the body, they might be gross, they might be subtle. It is not our job to prefer one sensation over the other. It's just to observe. And if you notice any other sensations within the body trying to draw your attention, it's okay to notice and then draw your attention back to your station. When you practice meditation, eventually the mind forgets that we're meditating and it wanders off to do some other chores. And the minute you realize that you are not practicing meditation, you smilingly and very kindly, without judgment, bring yourself back to your task, observing the breath. This practice of anapanasati is available to you at any moment of your life. It is not reserved for formal seated meditation. You can do this while you're working, while you're driving your car, just before you fall asleep, while you're showering or brushing your teeth. It's available at all times to bring equanimity to the mind. And when you become established in your meditation practice, it will be natural that your meditation practice will be taken off the cushion, that you will start to eat mindfully, noticing each bite of food, chewing it carefully, noticing the texture of the food before you swallow, and even putting down the fork between bites. You will start to drive more mindfully, noticing the breath, seeing the drivers in the cars around you, acknowledging that we are all one, and keeping yourself in a state of equanimity so that you're not being pulled into any types of frustration with other drivers or impatience about having to sit at the light again. You're just there driving your car, fully conscious, fully present and aware of what's happening. And to wrap up our meditation today, we'll go through a practice of metta, loving kindness meditation, in order to share our merits with all beings everywhere. Because when we're unhappy, we tend to share that with everyone around us so generously. So if we focus on keeping ourselves content and happy, and with a loving, compassionate heart, that is the gift that we will share with the people we come in contact with. So I ask you to draw to mind a being that you find very easy to love. It could be someone past or present, and it might even be a beloved pet. And with this being in mind, hold them gently in your heart and send out a sincere wish that they be happy and free from suffering. And then draw to mind someone who's neutral. It might be your barista or the cashier who checks you out at the store. It might be someone you pass in the hallway at work who you don't really know and therefore don't have an opinion about, but someone you see regularly who is not really in your life. And holding that person in mind, take a moment to acknowledge that they are you and you are them. And with all sincerity, send that being your love and an honest wish that they be happy and free from their suffering. And now I want you to bring to mind someone who you find it very difficult to love, someone who has hurt you, someone who causes disharmony, someone who picks fights, anyone who is creating chaos and disorder in the world, big or small, near or far. Holding this person carefully in your mind, have an understanding that it is only ignorance that causes them to create suffering. So hold no judgment against them, send only forgiveness. Send this person your love and an honest and sincere wish that they know happiness and true peace. Send a wish that they be free from suffering and from the root of suffering. Because when this person is no longer suffering, they will not cause other people to suffer. Oh. Swasti prajabhyaha paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyaha shubhamastu nityam lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all beings everywhere, without exception, know happiness and peace. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May all beings everywhere benefit from my merits. When you feel ready, You can blink the eyes open. Bring your awareness back to the screen. And if you want, it's totally up to you. You could turn on your cameras, unmute yourself. I'll just share with you a couple of the things that I have coming up that might interest you. And then we can also have a little bit of time for Q&A. Because I have experienced so much transformation, and I'm just going to actually take this to a grid view so I can see everyone. I'm going to unpin myself. If I can figure out how to do that. Yeah, remove pin. All right, well, hopefully everyone can see everyone. I was hoping to get all of us onto the screen together. Anyhow, I wanted to share with you that because I've experienced so much benefit from not only yoga teacher trainings, but from going on retreat where you're surrounded by people in the same energy as you, where you are, hang on, select gallery view. Yeah, that's the view I'm on, but I still just have you in a small corner. So actually I see Charlie on my main screen right now. Here, I'm going to unmute you, Ayana.
Hey,
Yeah, I unpinned myself and I am in gallery view.
I'm not quite sure what's happening. So it should have automatically gone to all 4 boxes. I'm on gallery view and I see everybody.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, hopefully that's what's recording. Anyway, yeah, I was just going to share that I find it so rewarding to be in the company of other people doing the same work that I'm doing, and also to have a structured day. Like it's hard when you're in your regular life because we're going to work, we're driving ourselves around, we're having to prepare our own food, we're multitasking, we're putting out fires constantly. And not only that, we have all these distractions like social media and Netflix and all these other things that we spend our time on. But when you go into retreat, you are very much there for a purpose. And because that purpose is being supported, you accomplish the goal. And I think most of you have been to retreats and teacher trainings. So you know that for that month or that week or that long weekend, you develop so much personally, and you also evolve as a being. And I find it so rewarding that I've started to create offers of my own. So this year I have 2 retreats. One is coming up quite soon. It's in Joshua Tree. It's from April 30th to May 4th. And this one is called Enlighten Up. It's a summer camp style yoga retreat. So we'll sit and meditate and do our yoga practices each morning. But then a lot of the people who have signed up, we've encouraged it to be like best friend groups and couples, and maybe it's a mother and child, or a parent child sort of combo, because we want you to be there with your favorite person. And I'm co-hosting with one of my good friends. And so we're doing things like Sanskrit art class, vegan cooking class, s'mores around the campfire. We're going to have like a game night and a movie night. So that one's very rooted in fun and friendship. And then just after that, from May 22nd through 30th, I'm hosting the Art of Being in Hawaii. It's on the Big Island. I had this retreat last year and it was so rewarding, and people had so much of a sense of evolution in their own practice that I immediately booked for this year. Normally, I like to give away a scholarship to my retreats, but currently I only have one person signed up for Hawaii. So I'm very much in debt to the retreat center. So until I get to my break even point, I can't give away a scholarship. But hopefully I'll get some more people signed up in the next few months so that I can offer a scholarship to someone who needs it. This one is structured more like a yoga teacher training. So it's a little bit more like Dharma talk heavy. We're going into a lot of the philosophy of yoga. We still have our morning meditation and yoga asana practice. And we still have the 3 vegan meals per day. All of my retreats are vegan. But we also go on adventures all over the island. So we're getting involved in the local community. We're planting trees. We're getting involved in the gardening of our food. So there's like this aspect of like you get the vacation aspect, but you also are deep in your studies and you're living in a way which is harmonious with the earth. So I'm really proud of that retreat, and I'm hoping to get some more people signed up. And then this year, for the first time, I'll be teaching on a 200-hour yoga teacher training in Bali. And so it's a very full circle moment for me because I took my first 200-hour teacher training in Bali. So to be able to go back there this time as a senior teacher on this training, it just feels such like it was meant to be, you know? And so if you guys are interested in any of those things, I can give you the links for those. It's my friend Devin who runs the school that I'm doing the teacher training through. And it's going to be really cool because all the staff for that training, we all graduated our 300-hour together in India. So it will be like a class reunion for us. And then we'll get to all share the aspects of our practice that we understand the most deeply. So like one of the people in our group is a doctor. So she's our anatomy teacher, right? She knows anatomy better than the rest of us. For me, I'll be teaching some of the morning asana practices, but my focus for the last few years has been my Sanskrit practice and my mantra chanting. So I've learned to read and write Sanskrit in Devanagari, and it has been the most rewarding practice for me. I practice every single day. The writing of the script has actually improved my penmanship. It's improved my vision. It's improved my focus and concentration. And then the act of chanting has been a gift for myself and others because I always believed that my voice should not be heard, but it's helped me come into alignment with my true voice and to be okay expressing myself, expressing my truth. And the great thing about Sanskrit is that it's a vibrational language. So you don't need to know the translation to benefit from hearing or saying the sounds. And so that's been really mind-blowing for me to like dig deeper and deeper into that practice. And the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, I will never know everything. And that's what I love about learning is that in the beginning, you discover something and you're like, I know everything about it, you know? And then the more you dig deep, the more you just realize like, man, I don't know shit. And it's so cool to like see how deep this rabbit hole goes. So I'm really excited to share that practice with my community and with my new students. So really looking forward to that. But I wanted to open up the floor to see if anyone has any questions about anything we went over today or your own personal practice or how to carry this practice into your daily life.
So I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm on day 307 of my own. Whilst I don't sit for an hour because of life, I used to not anymore. It's been helpful being guided because I generally don't do guided or music. And the mental chatter is quite a challenge, but that awareness is really good. So thank you for doing this. It feels really good to do it. I almost didn't come. I'm not terribly well today, and the urge to lay down was there, but I don't practice on a cushion, and I think that has been my issue. I need that support for my seat rather than sitting on my bed or the floor. It makes a difference because I'm having sciatic issues. So thank you. That's why I came. That post about the stacking, I'm like, let me come. So, and it's also the ego. You need a cushion, you need a block type thing. It's inferior. So thank you for that today. So yeah, I appreciate it. And one last thing, I don't know if you're on Insight Timer. Please do go on it, and that you can promote your retreats there. So maybe
Yes.
that's the way to reach people.
Yeah, I thank you for letting me know that. And I have been trying. I have to get registered with them as a live teacher in order to promote my retreats. So the first step was getting my profile picture up to their specifications, then getting my bio uploaded. And when I went to upload my teacher training certificates, it would only let me upload one. So I just did the most recent one. And they said, oh, it looks like you've only been teaching for, like less than a year. And I was like, no, I do it. I've been doing teacher trainings almost every year for a decade. So now I need to go back and get all of them uploaded so that I can actually start to promote on Insight Timer. I love this app. I use it mostly just for the timer because if I need to keep checking the time, I'm not in my space, So I know by setting the bell for 1 hour, I can disconnect from that. I wonder what time it is, right? Then I'm going to stay in my lane. And when, like with the practice of Vipassana, it really, you have to take the 10-day course to learn the full process. I mean, we didn't even learn the technique until day 4 because we spent 3 full days just doing Anapanasati, this awareness of the breath, which is great because it always, like when the mind is like doing this, it just brings you back to right now. So it's like this beautiful practice of just settling in the moment and observing what is currently happening. But we sit for 12 hours a day, and that's when you really, like, that ego, you're going to have to step that aside, because if you want to not sit on a cushion, or do it full yogi style, full lotus, 12 hours, it's hard to sustain, and so you really want to find the position where even if you use a chair, if you're leaning back, there is this chance that drowsiness is going to take you over. And so by sitting upright, like by even sitting on the edge of the chair so that you're supporting your own spine, this is preferred because it is going to keep you conscious and aware. It's going to keep drowsiness at bay. And if you start falling asleep and the minute you start to fall over, you're going to be very alert, very awake, and then you can start again. So I'm really glad to have you here today, Ayana. You're one of my favorite teachers, and I've definitely enjoyed your teaching. So it's been really lovely to have you come to my class as well, and happy to see that you are in the middle of a 7-day kind of self-paced retreat, which we should all try to fit into our lives if we can't go to a retreat, with others. So thanks for being here.
I just also wanted to say thank you so much. Just these reminders of my practice in, or just my consistency in many aspects of my life has kind of been uh, floating and all over the place lately, and being like in the midst of some like big life moments of just like impermanence, just like every moment I'm just like really being reminded of that. And so just to have this moment to like just to like really come into some acceptance is very helpful. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anicca, impermanence, like everything that rises must pass away. Everything that's born will die, So it's like this, once we are established in that understanding, then we cling much less.
Yeah.
There, like, what is there to cling to? Like, even this body, I won't be here. What am I clinging to?
And how insane it is to cling to our own suffering, like how we nurture our own suffering and how much we like hold on to it in each one. It's another friend shared, their emotions come up and it's like it can last like 60, 90 to 90 seconds, like the once you have that like initial surge of an emotion, and beyond that, like you're holding on to it. If it lasts longer, and if there's like pain beyond that, it's because you are choosing to hold on to it instead of just like releasing it, and just allowing it to rise and fall, and letting it go when it falls. um
Yeah, I learned something also that might be helpful for anyone watching, or for those of you that are here now. Anytime you notice that something unpleasant is arising, like the minute you realize you're triggered by anger, greed, jealousy, hatred, any of these kind of lower, denser, negative vibrations, if you change what you're doing, then then the impermanence is going to move through you faster, right? Like rather than, like sometimes something will happen, right? We always think it's the other person. That person said something that made me really mad, or that, circumstances that happened that affected my own happiness. It's never out there. It's always in here. And if you let your mind, chew on that thing for a long time, it grows and it gets harder and harder to let go of. I mean, sometimes we spend years mad over one insult, and it was so irrelevant, so nothing to hold on to. But if you notice like that you're starting to get mad or unhappy or whatever about something, get up and walk away, take a sip of water, move your body, do anything different that will change what is happening in that moment. And then you'll realize like, oh, that came and fell pretty fast. I'm no longer mad. So it's just a little kind of like a biohacking sort of trick that you can keep in your pocket. So the minute you're irritated by something, just change what you're doing. Have a sip of water, go for a walk, and then observe again. Am I still mad? No, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was just that guy was dumb, Yeah. So thanks for that observation.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Tori. I had a pretty crazy time over the past years since I moved here. Everything's been a little too hectic to get a routine down and find the time or make the time for the meditation. So I really appreciate you just setting up this class. Is this something you're doing every Saturday?
I do a free community class every month, but the focus is always different. So I did several that were vegan cooking classes. Then I did one that was like a self-love class that had a lot of Ayurvedic kind of self-care practices. And then this one was a meditation practice. But what I really love is to provide what people want. So if this is something that my community wants more of, I'm happy to do more, like to do more of the meditation classes. I'm getting ready to start offering, because I have a Zoom room now. So I have students, my yoga students are in a lot of different places. So I have had requests to do like a weekly class that's just a drop in. So it's kind of donation based. And there would be a set time that the class would happen. And then that class would be on replay for 1 week. So anyone who can't make it to the live can also just within that week watch the class and do it in their own time. But that's really more for yoga asana. So if a meditation class is something that would appeal to you on a more regular basis, I'm happy to make that an offering and to check in with my community and let other people know that that's an offering. Like really, I'm here to serve. And so I want to give people what they want. Like I keep releasing offers, and sometimes like in the past, I've had, maybe about 25 people sign up for the classes. This one was not a lot of signups. And so I'm wondering, I don't know if it's something that the community wasn't looking for, but I'm happy even to have a handful of people, like 12 people signed up to receive the class. So to me, 12 people is plenty of people to give a class to. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, I'm always open to suggestions. Even like if a meditation class is what you're looking for, throw out a time, or, you and I can work one-on-one. Always happy to deliver whatever is needed.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your day, so I just want to say thank you everyone for being here. And to those of you who watch this on replay, thank you also for practicing, because by meditating and by practicing yoga and by making ourselves happy and contented and calm and comfortable, that is what we share with the world. So by practicing, we are actually making the entire world better. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll end the meeting here. Namaste, friends. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye, guys.